Can you imagine living in the same building that everyone else in town lives in and never having to step outside to get groceries or go to school? Come with me to Whittier, Alaska. Welcome back to another day of my quarter-life gap year. We're starting from Anchorage, and driving on the Seward Highway takes a little over an hour to get to Whittier. Alright, so as we go on this scenic drive, I'll just talk a little more about the history of the town. Whittier started out as a military harbor in World War II, and then a few buildings were constructed for the military during the Cold War. And thus the Hodge building was born, which was later renamed to the Baggage Towers condominium in the 60s and used not only as a residential complex, but also other town facilities as well. Along the Seward Highway is a really good area for beluga whale spotting, which we did see some animals jump around in the water, but we didn't have our binoculars to tell whether it was a dolphin or a beluga. Okay, to continue my little history ramble, about 95% of the residents live here, which is how Whittier became more well known as the town under one roof. People visit Whittier because it's really accessible to glaciers, wildlife, hiking, fishing, and more, but we only spent the day here, unfortunately. There's just too much in Alaska to do and see. The main thing we missed was visiting Prince William Sound, but with so many sounds and glacier tours that we were going to be doing during our Alaska time, our budget could only handle so much. There are so many good pull-out spots along the Seward Highway, whether it's to look for wildlife or just admire the scenery, and Beluga's Point is one of them. Here is a scenic train that goes along the Seward Highway. This train to Denali is about $200 per person, which is definitely out of our budget, but at least we can see all the same views from our car. Anyways, you get some amazing views of the mountains and glaciers, and it was a beautiful sunny day when we were driving. It just truly never gets old seeing different mountains and glaciers as you drive. And then once we pass the town of Portage, the only way to get to Whittier by land is through the longest highway tunnel in North America. It's a 2.5-mile long tunnel, and we had to wait a little bit since the tunnel is only one way and also shared the train. But once we got in, we were driving in the tunnel for about 10 minutes. I didn't take a video the whole time because 10 minutes is a long time to be down there. But then when we finally emerged, we could see Portage Glacier. So before we went into town, we stopped for a nice hike to Portage Pass. It's about a 4-mile round-trip trail, so it took us a few hours, but as you ascend, you get amazing views of the town and mountains and lake. It was definitely a little steep uphill at times, but nothing we couldn't handle. Nice little waterfall running off from the glacier here. We also end at a beautiful glacier lake that has amazing views of Portage Glacier. You can also take a boat tour that takes you closer to the glacier, but it's so much more fulfilling to hike to it, and it's also free. A few hours later, and we're on our way back down. Last glimpse of Portage before we descend. And then after our hike, we drove to the iconic building that everyone lives in. The Big Towers also include a general store, school, laundromat, post office, police station, and even an indoor playground, so honestly when bad weather hits, you never even need to go outside. I kind of felt like it would be trespassing to go inside, so we just drove around the building. But I did find out that there are a few residents that live in a different apartment building now. The town wasn't super poppin', but makes sense since only a few hundred people live here, and people mostly visit on cruise ships to visit Prince William Sound. We were starving after doing our hikes, so then we walked along the pier and got some fresh fish and chips while overlooking the water. I wish I got a better picture, but it was delicious. And then to leave, we have to go back out the same tunnel and then back onto the Seward Highway. We caught the most beautiful sunset while driving back. And then that night we decided to try our luck at seeing the northern lights. Anchorage is pretty south for the northern lights, but it was a clear day and the stargazing forecast looked good, so we headed to Glen Alps and waited about an hour or so in the car. At about 1 a.m. the northern lights finally appeared, and it was our first time ever seeing them, and it definitely did not disappoint. It was so crazy seeing the lights dance, and I wish I could have gotten a video, but I don't know how to take one with my phone. Maybe I'll figure that out for next time. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.